Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. We got a good one today. We are going to be looking at our Week 5 college football games, but we're going to be focusing on the teams that need to be on upset alert. I found 7 potential ranked teams that could go down this weekend. We are going to look at the games, try to predict the outcome, look at the money line, spreads, and the over-unders, and make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I'll make sure to respond to you. Every week, we go over every single college football game as well as every single NFL game. We break down money lines, spreads, over-unders, predictions. We analyze the entire game. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed so you can follow along with us this season. Like I said, we're looking at Week 5 teams that need to be on upset alert. For these videos, I usually pick out 5 specific games, but I could not get it down to 5. I was stuck at 7. There's 7 teams that need to be on upset alert. I'm not saying they're going to lose, but we need to be watching the games because things could get pretty iffy. We're getting deep into conference play now, so there's some ranked on ranked matchups coming up. The very first game that stood out to me on ABC at 3:30 p.m., we have number 21, Oklahoma, 3-1. They'll be playing 2-2 Auburn. Oklahoma here, 57.3% chance to win this game. They are the Vegas favorites, 2-point favorites. Over-under is 45.5. Both of these teams are in very similar situations. So obviously you have the Sooners under Brent Venables. You have Auburn under Hugh Freeze. 2 really good coaches. Oklahoma has the number 11 top-to-bottom roster according to ESPN. Right now they come in, they average 29 per game, 188.5 through the air, 128.3 on the ground. A solid defense, a top 20 defense right now, only giving up 14.8 points per game. It's actually that defense that kept them in the game versus Tennessee this past weekend. They were able to force a couple turnovers. However, it's the offense that's holding the Sooners back right now. If you're a Sooners fan, that's not something that you're used to hearing. Usually it's the other way around, but it's the offense that's having a lot of issues getting first down and turning red zone possessions into touchdowns. Both of these teams benched their quarterbacks at one point this past weekend. Auburn, very similar situation. They're averaging 36.5, 293 through the air, 178 on the ground. Very balanced offense, solid defense as well, giving up 16.8 points per game. For the Sooners, Jackson Arnold has not lived up to his 5-star reputation. A lot of promise for him coming into this season. Seth Luttrell needs to figure out something to work a great game plan for him. He was actually benched at one point, and they brought out Hawkins, the freshman. We don't know who's starting this weekend. Is it Jackson Arnold? Is it Hawkins? Hawkins actually probably gives you the best chance to win this weekend. For Auburn, Peyton Thorne, their longtime starter, he was benched and they played Hank Brown. Is it going to be Thorne? Is it going to be Brown? We don't know either. Like I said, both teams have question marks at the quarterback position going into our Week 5 opener. So we're kind of in the dark here because we don't know what the starting lineup will look like. But what I will say, Oklahoma has a defense that was able to keep them in the game versus Tennessee, the number 1 offense in all of college football. They held that game at bay just long enough to make it an interesting game. They could do the same here on the road with Auburn. Defense always travels. I'm going to go with Oklahoma getting the win here, 20-16. That would be covering the spread, but going under. But like I said, this team needs to be on upset alert because this game is not looking good. It's practically a 50-50 split. I would not be surprised if Auburn won a close one. The big question mark is who's going to be starting at quarterbacks for both of these teams. Then the next matchup we're looking at that this team should be potentially on upset alert on ESPN at 12 p.m. Number 20 Oklahoma State Cowboys 3-1. They'll be playing number 23 Kansas State also 3-1. Both teams coming off of Week 4 losses. Oklahoma State lost a close one to Utah. Kansas State got the break speed off of them by BYU. Oklahoma State has a 52.7% chance to win this game, but it's Kansas State who's actually the Vegas favorite. Right now they come in as 5-point favorites. The over-under is 57.5. This game also has 2 teams that are in very similar situations. They're both trying to compete for Utah for who's going to be in that second place position in the Big 12 to potentially get to the Big 12 championship and then thus make the playoffs. For Oklahoma State right now, they're averaging 36.8 per game. having a great season throwing the ball, averaging 311.8, running for 96.3. They're giving up 20.8. The big alarming stat there is the 96.3 rushing yards per game. You have Ollie Gordon on this team, the Doak Award winner last season, 1,700 yards, 21 total touchdowns, the best running back in the country coming into this season, and he's only averaging like 60 yards a game. That is atrocious. What happened to the rushing attack? This was supposed to be a top 10 experienced offensive line. Mike Gundy and company, you need to figure out something to get the running game going. In these big-time games versus ranked opponents down the stretch, you need to rely on that running game in the fourth quarter. If you don't get Ollie Gordon going, that's going to hold you back this season. For Kansas State, they're the team that needs to be on upset alert. Right now, they're the favorite. A lot of people picking them to win this game. They're averaging 28.8, 166.8 through the air, 240.3 on the ground, and a defense that gives up 19.5 points per game. Last season, they had a top 30 defense, top 30 offense, a very well-coached team, a deep team. Avery Johnson, young quarterback, the highest recruited quarterback in Kansas State history. He had an awful game this past weekend, but we know the talent's there. This guy can throw, and he runs with purpose, a very mobile quarterback, and they have Giddens at the running back position. He's closing in on 450 rushing yards. They can run the game. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter, who's able to run the ball better. I have Oklahoma State winning this one 32-27. They are the favorite. I do not have them covering that spread. I'm going with the under just barely, but those lines will probably change by the time that we get to game time. But Kansas State better take this game serious, because if Oklahoma State figures out a way to get Gordon going, they could upset here. The next matchup we're looking at, where the favorite team needs to be on upset alert, this game is the most alarming to me on Peacock at 3:30 p.m. Number 15 Louisville Cardinals, 3-0 undefeated. They will be playing number 16 Notre Dame, 3-1. Notre Dame is 67.7% chance to win this game. They are the 7-point favorites here, 46.5 over under. Notre Dame better take this game serious. Louisville last season at Louisville beat the doors off of Notre Dame. They beat them into the dirt, humbled them in their house. However, this game is in Notre Dame this season. But Louisville is the hotter team right now. They're averaging 47.3 points a game, 214 through the air, 194.3 on the ground, and an elite level defense. They're only giving up 11 points per game. The offense has been led by Tyler Show, closing in on 900 yards. And they have Brown at running back. They have Brooks at wide receiver. A very balanced team. Jeff Brom knows how to coach and build a team through the portal. He adapts his scheme to whatever the talents are for the guys that he has on his roster. He adapts the plan to his playmakers. That's what's kept Louisville being successful for multiple years since Jeff Brom's been there. For Notre Dame, we know they have a good roster. Freeman has to keep these guys focused. We know what happens when they don't stay focused. They get beat at home by NIU. If they come in here with that same perspective here, thinking they're more talented, they're going to get beat at home and lose to Louisville back-to-back seasons. They have to make sure to keep an edge here. This game is personal. They need revenge for last season. Notre Dame, they're averaging 32.8 per game, 185 passing yards, 238.3 rushing yards, and an elite top 10 defense coached by Al Golden, only giving up 9.8 points per game. Notre Dame has a lot of talent on the line, especially defensive line. You have Al Golden coaching that side. You have Denbrock, one of the best offensive coordinators on the other side. But it's the offense that's sputtering, specifically the passing game. Riley Leonard cannot throw the ball in any way whatsoever. I've said that for 2 years now. Do not praise this guy. He doesn't know how to throw a ball accurately. He only has one passing touchdown this season through Notre Dame's first 4 games, with the best wide receiver core that Notre Dame's had in the last decade. However, it is what he is. He's your quarterback. Adapt the scheme to what he can do, running the ball. You got Leonard. You have Love at running back. Run the ball downhill. I have Notre Dame winning this one 28-23, avoiding the upset, not covering the spread, going with the over, but this game could easily be flipped the other way, depending on how Notre Dame approaches this game. Then the next one we're looking at 3:30 p.m. on ESPN, 3-1 Arkansas Razorbacks playing number 24 Texas A&M Aggies, 3-1. The Aggies have a 55.9% chance to win this game. They are 5.5-point favorites. The over-under is 52.5. Arkansas is rolling this season. If they win that close game versus Oklahoma State, they should have won it. They'd actually be undefeated right now. So they have top 25 talent easily. Right now, props to Sam Pittman. He's really got the offense going. They're averaging 40.5 points a game, 301 through the air, 240 on the ground. Bobby Petrino knows how to call offensive plays. Their defense is giving up 20 per game. For the Aggies, they're averaging 31 a game, a very good defense giving up 18.3 per game. But the big thing is Arkansas's offense. Green is having a great season at the quarterback position, closing in on 1,000 yards. He's mobile. They have Jackson at running back, closing in on 500 yards. They have Armstrong closing in on 400 yards at the wide receiver position. They have skilled position players at every position and a very talented coaching staff. But the Aggies, they have a top 10 overall roster according to ESPN right now. Playmakers everywhere, 4 or 5 stars up and down the field. But Mike Elko has to rebuild this team in his image. He has to kind of flip the roster. Connor Wegman goes down, although Connor Wegman wasn't doing very well this season. Reed has stepped in perfectly throwing the ball, and he's also a mobile quarterback. That can make the difference. Him running, Moss, great talent. But I'm calling upset here. I have Arkansas pulling off the upset, winning this one 27-24. Spread not being covered, and I'm just barely going under. This game could go either way. It's practically 50-50. Like I said, these teams are in very similar situations right now. This next game should come as no surprise. It's the game of the weekend, the biggest game of the year so far at 7:30 p.m. on ABC. Number 2 Georgia 3-0 undefeated versus number 4 Alabama 3-0 undefeated. Both teams coming off the bye. Both teams well rested. Bama a 65.6% chance to win this game, but it's the Bulldogs who are the Vegas favorites. 2-point favorites. Over-under is 50.5. These are two teams that have immense levels of talent. According to ESPN, Bama has the number 1 roster. Georgia has the number 2 roster. So there's going to be no lack of talent here. 4 5-star players, future NFL players up and down the field. Both teams had byes. Both teams had a week to work on some things that were kind of plaguing them throughout the season. Mainly for Georgia, that pathetic win versus Kentucky. Never apologize for a win. You won it in the worst game you could have possibly played, but there were some things that you needed to work on. Did they get those fixed? Namely, the offense, passing, and where was the running game? Their offensive and their defensive lines got pushed up and down the field by Kentucky. They won the game. That's great. Did they work on those things? Because Alabama is definitely going to test you, and they have a lot better offense than Kentucky. Georgia, they averaged 31.7 per game, 260 passing, 145.7 on the ground. They got to get the running game going. That's the main factor here. That's what they're known for. Where's the running game? Where's the elite running back? But their defense is still elite, only giving up 6 per game. For Alabama, they're rolling right now. They're actually the hotter team. They're averaging 49 a game, 246 through the air, 238 on the ground. Very balanced, elite offense, and a great defense as well, giving up 8.7 points per game on the defensive side. This game is 50-50, could go either way, but it's our first round in a rivalry game. Kirby Smart versus DeBoer on their new respective teams. This is just the one of many future games to come, and really whoever wins this game, it doesn't technically matter because they could meet again in the SEC championship and even in the playoffs. So this might not even be the only time they play this season. It's hard to beat a team twice. They could split this one and then someone else win the other one. Georgia could win this one, lose round 2. Bama could win this one, lose round 2. You see how this kind of complicates things because they're going to meet again. Whoever loses is going to see what they did wrong and have some things to work on. Both teams talented. Beck has to play better. Etienne has to play better. Love it. Having a great season for Bama. Milroe trying to get that Heisman this season. They have Miller at running back. They have Williams at wide receiver. I have Georgia pulling the game off. Kirby Smart's experience in the fourth quarter being the difference, winning this one 27-24. As I was mentioning, though, this is one of those games that could easily flip-flop either way, and then it could go the other way for round 2. Then the next matchup we're looking at could be the most electrifying game of the weekend. 10 p.m. on Fox Sports 1, 4-0 Washington State Cougars playing number 25. Welcome to the top 25, 2-1 Boise State. Boise State, 61.9% chance to win this game. They're 7-point favorites over under 65.5. There's going to be some points scored in this game. This being a high-scoring game is an understatement. Washington State, they're mad. Pac-12 got dissolved, but they're putting it back together. They want to let the world know they play football. They lost Cameron Ward, but Notre has stepped in and is in the top 7 right now for the Heisman frontrunners. Notre closing in on 1,200 yards passing, closing in on 500 yards rushing, one of the best all-around offensive teams in the country. They're averaging 46.3 a game, passing for 3-0 run, running for 225. They're giving up 29.3 points a game. Boise State, they're right there with them. They're averaging 48.7. That's with a loss versus Oregon. They're giving up 32 points a game. They pass for 235. They run for 311.3. Neither of these teams necessarily likes playing defense, but they play a lot of offense. You have a very well-balanced up-tempo air raid that's balanced for Washington State. Boise State's secret weapon is Genty at quarterback. He has like 9 rushing touchdowns this season, closing in on 600 rushing yards through 3 games. He's on pace to run for like 2,400 yards just in the regular season. Boise State wants to represent the group of 5. They're the favorites, but this is 2 highly skilled offenses. Whoever wins this game is probably going to be the team that possesses the ball last. The last possession, whether it's a field goal or touchdown, that'll be the difference maker here. I have Boise State pulling it off, meaning it 35-32, not covering the spread, but going with the over. But like I said, whoever has the ball last could potentially win this game. That's where the upset alert comes in. And our final game for the ranked team that needs to be on upset alert at 10:15 p.m. on ESPN. 2-1 Arizona visiting number 10, the Utah Utes, undefeated 4-0. Kyle Whittingham, one of the most underappreciated head coaches in the country, the 3rd longest tenured head coach. Utah has 77.3% chance to win this game. Massive favorites here, 12.5-point favorites. Over under is 50.5. You might be saying, how is Utah on upset alert? It's plain and simple. We don't know who's going to be playing quarterback on Saturday. Cam Rising, he's the 30-year senior right now. The guy's about 48 years old. He's been playing college football forever. He's hurt again. He hasn't played the last 2.5 games. Isaac Wilson has been filling in. He's been playing just fine. Having a great season so far, filling in for Cam Rising. But everyone will agree, when Cam Rising plays, he takes this offense to another level. This is a playoff contending team with Cam Rising. Utah, though, great team, well-coached, deep physical team. Arizona, they average 30 per game. They give up 26.7 per game. They have Noah Fafita at quarterback. They have McMillan at wide receiver. One of the best quarterback-wide receiver combos. But outside of that, they don't really have much else. They lost Jeff Fish to Washington. They're kind of lacking on the coaching staff. But if Utah is not able to get first downs this game, Arizona has a puncher's chance here. Utah, 33 points a game, 235 through the year, 206.3 on the ground. Elite Kyle Whittingham defense, only giving up 13 per game. It's that defense that's going to keep them in any game, probably keep them in this game. The only reason they're on upset alert is we don't know if it's going to be Cam Rising yet. They keep listing him as questionable. He was suited up last week but did not play. If he plays this game, to me, they cruise. If he doesn't play, it could be a close one. Close one means potentially an upset game. But I still have Utah winning this one, 33-20, no matter what happens. Covering the spread and going over, but I'd be a lot more confident if it's Cam Rising, a healthy Cam Rising, suiting up on Saturday. So that's our breakdown of our 7 teams that need to be on upset alert for Week 5 of the 2024 college football season. Hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.